Nickel. Willem, Nicole. I'm hoping to get a waiver to be. That's fine. We don't want to.
Sure.
I would be against it.
I think he actually lives in my neighborhood.
What if it looks? It does. Look, it does. It does.
Can't I picture him?
Okay. He's about my height, thin, with like curly hair.
Yeah, I just let the hubby know, so I'm about to find out.
Pretty thin.
YouTube and Facebook.
Hey, we're going to call the meeting to order in about 2 minutes. If there's anybody that would like to speak for citizens' comments, we're trying something out new. If you don't mind, sign up on the sign-up sheet. If you want follow-up, just make sure that we've got either your email or your phone number, however you want us to contact you. And I left contact sheets on the web. I put Phil, you can only contact between 1 a.m. and 4 a.m.
Oh, yeah.
because he doesn't like to sleep.
Do we have the password? I'm just looking at Ryan and Jack. They're all dressed up.
And if we have Pastor Simonson that's supposed to be here, if he's not, Councilman Merce has agreed to do the invocation for us.
Was it showing?
We'll give him another minute.
It's going to be delayed. You're good.
And we're live on what now?
You're live on, should be on, well, we just confirmed you're on YouTube, and you should be on Facebook as well.
Okay, cool. All right. You ready?
Yes,
Perfect. All right, we're going to call this meeting to order at 5:30. We'll begin with a roll call.
Sheena Martinez, District 1.
Paul Carey for District 2.
Philip King, District 3.
David Mers Jr. for District 4.
And Herb Dyer is excused today, and I am Darren Schroeder, Mayor. If you will, please stand with me for the pledges and remain standing for the invocation. First, to the American flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And to the Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Lord, God of heaven and earth, look favorably upon all those gathered here tonight. Help those behind the dais to make wise decisions with their residents in mind. And help all of us to remember that we are neighbors first, not councilmen, not supplicants, neighbors. Help us all to grow in your love for each other. Amen.
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 Thank you, Dave.
Thank you. All right, next item is citizens' comments. I don't think we have anybody that signed up, but if you'd like to, please come on up. Oh, thank you.
Okay, since we signed up, you still have to have the address and all that?
Yeah, if you don't mind, please.
Okay. I'm surprised you don't have me on speed dial. Karen Fifield, 805 Washington, here in Castroville. There's a couple of things. Fortunately, I am on the email list agenda, so I got it so I can have time to look through it and stuff. Because I'm old and slow. Um, First thing, I understand item number 7 is predominantly for reallocating funds that were left over. Um, and if so, I would like to make a suggestion on what those funds could be used for. As it came up the last time I was up here and spoke, asking why my sewer bill was more than my water bill and how could that be possible, it was because of the rate. Now, I know for a fact we have our own sewer treatment facility right above Regional Park. Now, many moons ago, when I sat where you are, it needed to be expanded, upgraded, whatever, and I thought that it had. I recently found out that that did not happen. So I don't know what we're doing with the excess because I'm quite sure there isn't excess. I don't know if we're paying somebody to come in, pump it, haul it off, and treat it. I have no idea. But I urge you to look at that, especially with all these new subdivisions coming in. We really need to prepare our infrastructure to handle this. And sewage is, unfortunately, everybody's got to go, so we need to take care of this. We need to either update, refine, add on, do whatever. I know at one time the field directly behind that was owned by a gentleman who farmed corn, and the corn was not for human consumption. It was strictly for animal feed. At that time, when I was on council, we had agreed to run the pipes, and if I'm not mistaken, the guy was going to even go in halves on what it would take to run pipes to his field. So basically, we would get rid of the excess wastewater once it had been treated, and he got his crop irrigated. So it was a win-win. Now, again, this was years ago, so the gentleman may no longer be with us. It may be his kids or something. But it is definitely worth looking into unless you guys have something cooking on the back burner that we don't know about yet. Okay, the last thing I wanted to speak about is the agenda layout. I have no problem with items 1 through 5. However, given that these meetings start at 5:30, which means most people can't attend, I think it falls under the role of cruel and unusual punishment to make us sit through and listen to all of the different branches' reports. As I understand it, each department or branch, whatever you want to call it, has a council representative that goes to their meetings and stuff. So if we moved these reports to the end of the day, that would be awesome. Just to get it out, just so the people, since it's 5:30, there are people that have young children and stuff, they want to get home. If they're able to get here for the meeting, they want to get done and get home so they can have dinner with their families, as you probably do as well. So I'm just saying, how about we shuffle the deck a bit and see if that helps anything. Okay, that's all I got.
All right. Thank you, Karen.
All right.
All right. Is there anybody else that would like to speak for citizens' comments? All right. Next item is the consent agenda. On the consent agenda, we have minutes for July 9th, 2024, regular call meeting. Approve an ordinance for a zone change for approximately 35.168 acres located northeast of intersection at US 90 East and 471 North to a planned unit development district, a PUD overlay, with the underlying zoning CHE East Commercial District for approximately 2.725 acres and RA Single Family Dwelling District for approximately 32.443 acres. And this is the Heights of Castroville. Next is approve an ordinance for a planned unit development for approximately 35.168 acres located northeast of intersection at US 90 East and 471 North. Approve an ordinance for a zone change for approximately 254.69 acres located north of US Highway 90 East and to the east of Alsatian Oaks to a planned unit development district, PUD overlay, with the underlying zoning RA, single-family dwelling district, for approximately 254.69 acres, and that is Flat Creek. Then finally, approve an ordinance for a planned use development plan for approximately 254.69 acres located north of US 90 East and to the east of Alsatian Oaks. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Next item is consider and take appropriate action on an ordinance authorizing the issuance of the city's combination tax and revenue certificates of obligation, Series 2024, providing for the payment thereof by the levy of an ad valorem tax upon all taxable property within the city, and further secured by the pledged revenues of the system and other matters in connection therewith. And for that, we have Samco.
Great, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ryan Cunningham of Samco. My colleague Jack Klein here is handing out a debt service schedule. We also have the city's bond counsel, Lauren Ferrero, is here and back as well. So 2 months ago, we talked about this, the proposed $1.5 million for drainage utility projects supported by the Drainage Utility Fund. We went out in the community, requested bids, and the rate that came in for 4% from TXN Texan Bank was the lowest rate. So it's 4% for 20 years. You see the debt service payments are $110,000. That the current cash flow from the drainage utility can support this. There's more. There's also about $300,000 or so in reserves for this, and you're adding new customers. So we're still not sure exactly what the final project cost will be for this, but I said it's going to be fully supported by the Drainage Utility Fund. So with this, in 5 years, there is a rate reset, which is one of the terms that the buyer requested, that will be 85% of the 10-year treasury rate. It was just a little protection for them. As you know, we're in an inflationary environment. We don't think rates will go that high, but also you can pay off the bonds at that time as well, because they'll be callable on the paper, which offers protection to the city. But in this current rate environment, the 4% for 20 years is really good. And why we privately placed this was to avoid the rating costs, a bond underwriter, all these things that we go in the public market on these larger issues, where a smaller 1.5 million is less cost effective to the city. So I'm glad to answer any questions about this or the market in general that you may have.
Great. And can you clarify, it sounds a little bit confusing to some of our people that aren't as accustomed to the process here. Can you explain why in the item it talks about this being connected to the ad valorem tax, and what we're talking about is actually specifically from the drainage?
Sure. So
Thanks.
we levy a drainage fee anytime you have a revenue pledged security, whether it's utility or in this case, the drainage fee. You're going to generally get a more favorable look from the market and a better look if you have it as a property tax pledge. So almost every certificate of obligation you'll see issued, whether it's a utility obligation or a general obligation, will have the full faith and credit of the city as a pledge to pay the debt in the event the revenues are not sufficient. And that's simply just to get more attractive. It's to lower the risk, which lowers the rate you pay, which also increases the amount of activity and people interested in buying your bonds. But there's, again, in this instance, we're already levying a drainage fee that's sufficient to pay the debt. I did want to clarify the use of funds. So this is a drainage utility. It is intended that the primary use of the 1.5 million that's being borrowed is to go and repair the 20-year-old drainage improvements that were made that are now in some cases failing or having they need major maintenance work done. We don't know the total cost of that yet. I certainly hope it'll be less than 1.5 million, which will allow us to use additional funds. They have to be used for drainage projects. So we're talking about flood control, that type of thing. That would allow us to use any excess funds for the types of projects that we've talked about on the south side of town of 90. But I just want to be real clear. We talked about this before, that until we know how much those 2002 improvements are going to cost us to go in and maintain and fix, we don't know how much money we have to work with for those other projects. And there's every potential that it's going to cost more than we thought it was. That seems to be the way everything is working out lately. So I just want to temper enthusiasm on the availability of additional funds.
So council, any questions for Samco or for? No?
Do you have a comment?
No, I was just going to come up and answer that question, but you answered it perfectly.
Okay.
So I was
Well,
just
thank
sitting here waiting for a legal question.
She was waiting for you to mess up and you didn't.
Okay.
You didn't mess up.
Do that. She's kind enough not to point it
I was just picking on
The
you.
other night, I saw this morning when I was going across the bridge, there's some more that sloped in.
Yeah.
to the
And that's
creek.
going to take about the engineering on that's going to take about 6 months. And I mean, it just is what it is. We want it fixed tomorrow.
Yeah.
And
It's
my
a
dumb
huge
brain's like,
safety.
just get a bunch of concrete. We can, but you have to engineer it.
Yeah, it's a huge safety.
Councilman Merz?
I just wanted to reemphasize that this is coming out of the existing charge already on your utility bill, and this is being used to service improvements only here in the already developed part of town.
And there's no proposal to increase that rate at this time. The rate's sufficient to pay this debt. Now, if any future council could decide that they want to do a bunch of other drainage improvements that they need to levy a fee for, that's entirely possible, but that is not what this council or this staff is recommending at this time.
Absolutely. Okay. So I am looking for,
I'm
I'm
just
sorry?
going to say, I appreciate you all looking after us. I have a lot of faith and trust in you all, making sure we're not getting ourselves in trouble.
Well,
Appreciate that.
I'm sorry. And while we're saying giving gratitude, I really appreciate the local banks who so we're doing a private placement with local banks. We had several participate. Very grateful for their participation. Grateful to TXN for a 4% rate. I mean, I don't know if any of you have gone. I've gone and looked at rates. It's
That's
not
pretty good.
4%.
Yeah.
So-
It's really good.
I'm very, very happy with this.
Yeah, especially in today's economy.
Actually creates an arbitrage problem for us, but that's okay. We'll report it and pay it. So it's great.
and to be clear on the people that we're using as advisors, it's our bond counsel, our financial advisors, and city staff working through these things. So we're doing this using the expertise that we have at hand. So thank you for being there for us. So do I have a motion to approve as read?
Yes. Oh, let Gina have it.
Okay. I have a motion by Councilwoman Martinez,
I'll second it.
a second by Councilman King. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next item is the city administrator report. I want to be very clear about the city administrator report. With the different things that are happening inside of the city departments, one of the things that we've asked is for the city administrator to put an update for council and for citizens so that everybody understands some of the nuances that are going on. Major happenings, any major risks, any kind of issues that we're having. We want to be very open and transparent about this and put this out. Again, council wants to know anytime we have major accomplishments, major risks, and we want to make sure that the people that we represent are aware of that as well. So that's why we have it up toward the front, because this is some of the most crucial information about what's happening in the city. So Scott, is there anything that you wanted to highlight on here specifically?
Yeah, there's a couple of things I want to update on. One is several items simply because they're not on the agenda tonight, and I'd hope they would be, so I went ahead and include them in my report. I'm pulling up my report as I'm talking to you. I went too far. There. Okay. So code compliance was one of them. What we're doing, we kind of hope to be able to do a presentation tonight. Like I said, we're not really ready to do that. But hopefully at the August 13th meeting, we'll be ready. I say hopefully because one of the things we want to do is we're going to talk about kind of four aspects to code compliance. So one is, what does our code currently say? What are the nuisance codes and other things that our code officers are out there enforcing? And so we'll give kind of a brief about that. We're then going to talk about what is complaint-based code compliance. What does that mean? Because we're currently operating under a complaint-based format. We're then going to talk about enforcement, like how do we enforce, and how we try to apply this a concept or value of Castroville Cares to kind of the city's operations. So anything we do, whether it's the animal control or animal services. We're even trying to change our names, not animal control or code enforcement. It's code compliance and animal services. To be less authoritative about everything we do. So we try to apply this Castroville Cares lens to what we do. So we'll talk about code compliance in that format. Like, what does that look like? And then we'll talk about what happens if we can't get voluntary compliance. And that's really the last straw. Like if someone's just not willing or able to voluntarily comply, what do we, and we aren't able to help them for whatever reason. What is it? What happens next? That piece, we're working with the chief and the judge and the prosecutor to get together on a time to meet between now and the 13th. I already know, for instance, the judge is not available. He's out, but he's going to try and meet remotely via Teams. So if we can make that happen in a timely manner and get good information, then we'll be ready for the 13th. If not, we might have to push it because we don't want to have the meeting absent that part of the process. So that'll all happen at a future council meeting. The other thing I want to talk about is the golf cart ordinance. Again, this is another item that we hope that we might be ready to talk about tonight. We're not quite there. As far as the golf cart ordinance is concerned, the things that we want to look at are, one, what does the state code currently say about these vehicles? And there's a lot of code out there in the state. And then what would that process look like for Castroville? So last time this was presented, the council indicated its interest in doing some type of local registration program. That program would involve like the creation of a custom license plate for Castroville. So the people who went through it, we'd have some kind of Castroville plate that they put on their vehicle, their golf cart or UTV. And that would be a way for people in Castroville to know that person, one, is legal. Two, because of the requirements that you all adopt, the policy that you put in place, that they understand what the rules are, that they're abiding by those rules, that their vehicle has been inspected and passes all the requirements.
And the little kids won't be driving around like they are right now on summer break.
Well, they may still do that,
But they will have
at least you'll know that
who
the driver,
is and
right?
everything, and be able to take
And you'll know that
action.
driver acknowledged that those kids aren't supposed to be doing that, and
Yeah,
be able
it's
to write a
a little-
citation. So again, just to clarify, there are laws on the books that are state laws that our police officers can enforce today and will enforce. I think that's what the chief has kind of indicated. His staff is looking for those things. We just aren't always catching them. We hear reports of that thing happening, but don't necessarily see it ourselves. So when we see it, they are responding appropriately. This will add an extra layer, really, for the rest of the public to see that registration process is happening. So we're in the process of developing that with our city attorney. She's sent us a draft ordinance. We'll probably do some tweaking between now and the 13th to present that to you for your consideration. The drought restrictions policy, something I wanted to mention. There's two things. One, in our current policy, there's really nothing additional in stage 5. So we have stage 4, and then in stage 5, it's like see above. I can't remember what it actually says, but there's really no verbiage for stage 5. And one of the things that I know we talked about during our discussions earlier this year is about what to do about water conservation and part of your rates. In fact, the council kept the rates the same at the kind of first 3 tiers of the water user group to acknowledge that this is where most residential customers fall, and y'all hiked the rates for those who fall outside of that. So the really big users are using 20,000 gallons or above. Their rates went up considerably, right? So that was one way to encourage people to use less water where possible. Another method is when you have drought restrictions in place, but people aren't abiding by them, we can adopt what's called a surcharge. So it's like it acts like a fine, but it's a surcharge. And we would be able to utilize our system to see, if someone's used excess water, we could actually automatically send them a bill for that surcharge. Now, we know that sometimes people have leaks and other issues. We already have a process for that. And if that happens, then we'll deal with that, right? So that's something that staff is recommending. This is what my report just briefly touches on. And we'll probably bring that forward either at the next meeting in August or the one following. We just had all this rain, so pray that we're out of stage 4 soon. However, while we're in stage 4, the other thing I want to bring to your attention is our current policy states that no building permits can be issued during stage 4. And while this seems to make sense because you don't want people using additional water, the developers and others who are wanting to connect, they've already brought us necessary to allow them to connect. So they've effectively already taken care of the water transfer, which has increased our pumpage, which has decreased our threat, if you will, of over pumping because they've now brought what the requisite amount for their home. And it's my advice and opinion that needs to be taken into consideration when looking at a policy like this. They should be subject to the same both restrictions and rights as any other household payer in the city because they've brought their rights just like everyone else. They have them. So that's something that I wanted y'all to start considering now because I'd like to see that on a future agenda. Right now we're holding, Brianna's not here, but do you know how many houses we're holding up? Yeah, so there's like 15 housing permits that haven't been issued. That won't be issued till we get out of stage 4 because that's what our current policy states.
Can't they build it and we just don't activate the meter?
No, because you have to test the lines in several different phases of the construction. You've got to be able to have an active water line.
But they had the permit issued before we were in stage 4, weren't they? Did they?
No, these are new building permits. So we have something like close to 80 houses that are in some form of construction right now. Not that I don't want to say it's a boom. It's not, but it is. The pace has increased considerably from just 6 months ago.
So they're actually not going to hook up the water for some months.
They won't start. They won't even
But
start.
we can't even issue them the permit
Right.
because
Right.
the ordinance says you can't
Right.
issue them a permit.
Right.
Well, the concern, as we look through the different, the pros and the cons of this, the fact is that additional ratepayers will ultimately reduce the overall burden of, you add on ratepayers. If you add on additional ratepayers, it will actually help alleviate some of the increases. But what we don't want to do is be irresponsible with water. If you remember the way that we have looked at water rights, and this is just discussion, this isn't like I'm not in favor or against, but these are some of the things that I've been looking at is that if they're bringing the water rights, they've already increased our pool. And so it would, refusing them on one side, I think, like I look at, is there waste that's going to happen because of that? Is there water consumption that shouldn't happen? We don't shut off people's existing water systems when we get into stage 4, even stage 5. And these people are bringing the water rights. They already have the right to it. It's like, I already have the right to the water at my house. And nobody's saying you got to turn off your water. Is it right for us to do it with them as well? So it's a discussion that we need to have.
Yeah, it's a very serious condition because we're not just us, but everybody in the city is very concerned about it because we don't want to end up like some other towns around us that ran out of water. So it is a big concern. I mean, because I saw in the code compliance, we have somebody that put in a pool without a permit thinking they're going to fill it up now. We're in stage 4 water restrictions. They submitted for a permit. I hope to God their permit's not getting approved. And that kind of stuff. So we just, and if they build these houses, tell them, hey, don't do the grass or anything yet, because that's not right to let them put that in when we're not letting anybody else put in new sod and everything, water their grass. So we got to walk that fine line.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, you can put in sod. It's not going to be alive long, though.
Yeah, I saw there's a house that put in a
Water.
bunch of new sod. I don't want to say where it is, but I was like, wow, this seems like an interesting time to choose to do that because we're in the middle of a drought. But
I put in sod last year. I think it was last year we were getting all that rain at the beginning and we put in a few pallets and then drought and it died. It was very sad.
But I mean, we got to walk that fine line.
Yeah, for sure. Okay.
I'm trying to move us along. Sorry. Budget. We were going to present on budget tonight. I don't think I need to speak too much on this other than I'm working to make that budget a little bit more digestible, not just for you all, but also for our public. We are going to have at least one budget hearing. I think we're only required to have one, but we're planning on having two. So at those meetings, we'll have a presentation. The presentation that we provide will have a lot more charts and graphs than what was provided before. So we're working on. It just wasn't ready for this packet. Otherwise, I would have tried to do it tonight. So that's the budget. I will mention the general fund budget is balanced. There was a slight shortfall, about $40,000. That's now been made up. So the budget that will be proposed for the general fund will be actually have a slight contribution to fund balance is what it's looking like. On the utility fund side, I'm still working on. I've reduced the deficit that it has, but I'm working with Schneider to better understand our utility rates and what the capture rate was supposed to be and what they anticipated our annual expenditures to be, to better understand why that, because it should be covering. You all made the rate changes necessary to cover our expenses, and it's not. So I'm trying to get to the bottom of that.
To a big amount.
Yeah, well, it's about half of what it used to be, but it's still a big amount. It's still a big number. So, and again, our utility rates are already.
$800,000.
What's that?
It says current draft balance still.
Yeah, about 800 grand. Yeah, from 1.4 is where we started. So we reduced it by 600,000, but still have ways to go. City Hall remodel, just an update there. Yeah, the mayor and I attended a presentation by Go Medina this morning. And at the end of that meeting, the judge stood up and talked a little bit about what's going on at the county courthouse. He spent 4 hours in a meeting up at Austin. He said that there was $35 million available.
50 million available and 150
applied for.
Applied for.
Yeah. And anyway, there's just way more demand than there is supply for that grant program. And the times I've met with the Texas Historic Commission, they like to talk about how much money there's available for this kind of stuff. But the more I peel it back and look at it, the likelihood of us getting funding for this building to be renovated, which is not a current courthouse. The current courthouses, all those applications, the vast majority of them are current courthouses that are seeking funds. Because this is not currently being operated as a courthouse, even though it used to be years and years ago, I just don't think we have really good odds of actually getting financed. And the judge spoke to that. He said he is not anticipating getting his project financed. He might get a planning grant finance which would line him up for financing in the next 2 years. So I think the direction that I would like to head on this is as an energy efficiency grant. Energy efficiency loan. It's very, very similar to the Texas Water Development Board loans that you've received in the past. They're below market rate to incentivize, and they have a guaranteed performance, much like our AMI, where the city has to realize specific cost savings that pay for the improvements that you make. And there are a bunch of improvements to this building that can be made that would fall in the terms of that type of grant. So our AC units, our electrical, I would like to see windows replaced, and we can still look at high efficiency, but look at all wood. That's an option that I haven't taken off the table.
The
lighting, yeah. Anything. The AC, creating a what's called a variable flow refrigerant system, where each room is actually divided in its own area. So there's just a lot of things like that. So but everything we do, because it used to be a courthouse, it still falls under state law. The THC has to be notified. They don't have to agree to everything we do, but they have to be notified of the project we're going to undertake. We really don't have any funds other than the interest money that you all have allocated. So all the interest the general fund earns is being allocated to a future city hall project. That was something y'all did earlier this year. But that's not nearly enough to do a project of this magnitude. So until we have identified financing, this will be somewhat of a slow process, and I'll continue to work on identifying funding for that. Gas operations, there's not a major update there other than we're working with Great Forest Utilities to look at a management plan that would look very similar to what CPS provided us. One of the things that we're exploring is a pay-as-you-go, basically, so pay based on number of trips, that kind of thing, and then have an operations and reporting aspect to it. So we have to do railroad commission reports on an annual basis, inspections, other things that have to be submitted. They would handle all of that at a fixed cost. And that's very, very similar to what we did with CPS. If we were able, once we were able to determine what that's going to cost us, that'll allow us to build a more accurate budget of the gas system. And that is probably, that's a big part of what's driving up our costs. When we look at that $800,000 deficit that's still there, a good chunk of that is the gas system. And we did not change rates to pay for that. So if we can get the cost down, which is our goal, and keep the rates the same, which is also our goal, then that's great. But that's an area that will be looked in and fine-tuned as we make progress with the group that we're talking to. CPS wholesale electric discussions, that has not changed. So we're still trying to resolve our differences with CPS Electric. Live streaming, we're going to see how it goes tonight. Hopefully that's updated and working well. Agenda management software, we're almost there. I think I mentioned we'll have a meeting this week with the mayor and Deborah to look at that. Regional park irrigation, I'm hoping to have something in place very soon. We thought it was about a $20,000 fix, but we got like a $68,000 estimate. And it's just running some electric and utilizing an existing structure as our basin to hold the water. So it's a pump and some electric controls and a little bit of piping. It doesn't look like a massive project, and it certainly didn't look like it cost $68,000. So we're trying to get a better estimate on that project, but that's what's holding that up. And then library administration, we're conducting interviews tomorrow, actually, all day. I'll be doing interviews with 4 candidates. We had some really good candidates. I think we interviewed 9 folks. And of those, we're bringing 4 back for in-person interviews. All 4 of these folks are certainly qualified position, and some of them you kind of argue might be overqualified positions. So I'm very excited about that. And we'll see how that goes tomorrow. And I think that's it, unless there are other questions about items that are on the city administrator's report.
We'll start with council members. You have any questions?
No questions.
Councilman King?
No question.
Councilman Carey?
None.
Councilwoman Martinez?
Quick regarding the golf court ordinance, are we going to be making the license plates in-house since we do our own street signs? Or how are we going to, like the little plates, because you said.
Yeah, no, well, you said we do our own street signs. I think we order street signs.
We order street signs, yeah.
I thought we made them.
No.
They're in-house.
We're going to look at some different options and probably engage like Darren Ham on something that's creative, that's unique, that fits, and something that ends up being kind of cool.
We're not going to issue 1 million of these. So I'd imagine we're probably going to order them and have like 50 or something ordered, and then we'll already have them ready to be issued is what I would expect. But we're going to look at several different options to see what the costs are. I did fail to mention our regional community center project. Big project, y'all. I cannot underscore how difficult or overstate how difficult dealing with the USDA is. I appreciate that there's funds available. I appreciate there's this federal program for us to do, but oh my gosh, I don't have enough years in my life to deal with some of the stuff that they make us do. So we are jumping through all the hoops, doing our best. We can't start this project until they've given us their final approval. And so we're trying to get to final approval. And there are some things we sent to them 3 times, right? But when they say they don't have it, we got to send it again. So we're in that process. Simultaneously, I know that our engineer is working with the the contractor is working with our engineer and architects to look at what value engineering on that project would look like, so that when we're ready to start, we'll be able to bring something back to council to look at how we get that project within a desired cost range. Right.
What's our obligated completion date on that for the grant?
I don't think it's an issue now that we've satisfied we had to get this part of it started. But initially they'd said they wanted us to have it all spent and done by next May. But again, I don't know that that's I get the impression that that's not a hard and fast deadline.
Right.
So I don't know.
Sure hope not, because they ain't gonna get finished by.
Yeah, well, and it's just typical USDA.
They're like, you
all
hurry,
they do
we
is
won't.
increase anyway, they increase the cost of the project because they increase the time. And every time you make it take longer, it's going to cost more. So anyway.
The federal government.
All right. Anything else? Next item is discussion on National Night Out festivities. So I just wanted to bring this up because we've had a couple of different people. I had Penny Robertson reach out and say, her son wants to do something for like a centralized one. We've done them centralized at the airport. We started that during COVID. Before that, we would do it out in the communities. Like each district would have one in theirs. I hosted mine probably 6 or 7 years ago over at our place. And I know that we used to have them kind of distributed out like that. I kind of like having them together. I think that it's fine having it at the airport. I think it's fine having it, even if we do it similar to like something down in Houston Square, if we wanted to do that. I just wanted to open up for conversation. I think we have 3 viable options, and that would be either the distributed one out in the individual ones, which makes it a little bit harder for some of the central folks. Like if you're going to have additional people that are going to come out that want to be involved with that, they can't get out to every single one necessarily, but it does get it out into the neighborhoods. The other one would be to continue it at the airport. One of the nice things about that is that we've got a lot of space there. It doesn't encroach on anybody that lives around here. It's close enough that everybody can get to it. We can still get the helicopter in from the Border Patrol. I think that's really kind of cool. And then Houston Square, that would benefit the downtown businesses and have a more centralized location like that. But we wouldn't be able to get the helicopter in, and we wouldn't be able to do some of like we wouldn't. My mom couldn't skydive in for the ceremony because she's not coming into Houston Square. So I just wanted to have the conversation. Just say, figure out. It's on us. So how do we want to do this? So I'll open it up. Let's just have a discussion if you have a preference.
Because like you said, we have plenty of room. We're able to bring in kilos and everything like that for people to come. The kids get fascinated by that stuff, I mean, even with the their name, I feel bad. The people
Dream Flights?
Yes.
Yep.
They get out there and everything. I mean, and then we have the food trucks and what have you. So we have plenty of room for all that. Yes, we have Fiorello Friday and everything else at Houston Square. It's just out there.
Yeah.
It's more roomy and people can just socialize easier. And I just like
We have
the
more
openness,
Yeah.
and bringing cool stuff.
Nice. All right. Cool. What do you think?
I like the idea of the centralized location, have it all in one place rather than scattering around.
Mhm.
So the airport does sound like the primary goal opportunity. So.
All right. Great. Councilman King, any thoughts?
Well, one thing, I do recall them landing a helicopter at Houston Square.
We sure did.
And it was like the massive,
I missed that.
weed blower, what do you call it? It cleaned the parking lot. At Houston Square.
Clearance for it.
No, because it literally caused
Yeah.
dust clouds
Dust
everywhere.
clouds and paper
But,
cups and everything.
Done numerous hot loads on them. Yeah.
I've been to the airport during these things, and I think the airport's an ideal place for it. And again, it's to have the food vendors and have, all the different nonprofit groups that show up, and that would be extremely difficult if you broke these up at different sites around.
Yeah.
Because the hospital's coming out, and the Boy Scouts are there, and the Girl Scouts, and the animal shelters, and all this. So it's so easy for them, and so I like what's been going on the last few years.
All right. Great. I like it. Councilman Merch?
I'll be a little contrarian here. As someone with small kids, it takes a lot of time and effort to load up in the car and go somewhere a mile away, and it would be really cool to be able to just walk down the street to something instead. And I think there are a fair number of people I know who would be more likely to show up to something just down the street than to drive out to the airport. But I realize also that having one in each district would be volunteering myself for more work. I mean, it's still the opposite side of the city from me, but yeah.
Yeah, and I think the airport is. The airport's in the community, and I think that it just provides a lot. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, and back in David, basically, for anybody who wants just to have something at their house, they can do that also, and especially for their neighbors around them can show up, and it doesn't have to be, the big fancy one out there. They can have, it's like people have 4th of July parties all over the place here, and it doesn't have to be out at the.
That's what other cities,
Hmm?
some other cities do that because you meet your constituents if you're having it in your district.
Yeah, but
And you get out and meet, your neighbors and such.
And you can still do that, and you can still have a brief meeting in your neighborhood, and then whoever wants to go to the airport can go to the airport.
hey, if someone's having a party in my district, I will be there before or after I go to the airport.
Well, it's something that we can look at. That's not a bad idea for next year. I would hate to overcomplicate it that much for right now. I think that if we go with something, one of the things that we've been doing with Lions Park, to Karen's point, is that we've opened it up for something like that. But because there could be so many additional limitations, the parking is limited there. We haven't done it there yet, so it would make it much more complicated to organize it. And part of this is we want to be aware of how much work actually goes into this. We had a lot of opportunities for improvement last year. We had some things that we had missed that I think that we can build on. Oh, thank you.
In case anyone forgot his name.
Hello, behind.
So I think it's not a bad idea to maybe look at doing it distributed for the initial thing with accumulation at the airport for next year. But I think that it would be good if we just came to consensus about how we want to do this. So it sounds like consensus right now is at the airport. Okay. And then some of the things that I want to make sure that we cover are having restrooms. We have restrooms. By the way, we have the new restrooms out here. We have trash. We missed trash last time. Make sure there's a place for people. If we have these food vendors where they can put trash, make sure that we've got somebody to organize that. We've had issues with the power going out so we need to make sure that we've got keys for that. So it's just going through and wrapping that up, making sure that we know who is in charge of leading that organization. So I think that'll be a good thing. Okay.
Now that we have our airport manager, you'd be able to help out more.
Yeah.
And that with the heat and
Okay. Cool. Any issues with that, Scott?
No, I think this is kind of the reason it's on the agenda, is to determine what are we doing. We're going to do it dispersed or back at the airport or somewhere else. So it sounds like at the airport.
do we have a date yet?
August 6th.
August 6th. Yeah. It's the first Tuesday in August.
National Night Out?
No, it's in
No.
October.
October. I'm sorry.
What
First.
are y'all talking about?
Okay,
First-
October 1st, okay.
Yeah, it's in
Is it-
October.
It's the first Tuesday in October, right?
Well, Texas has 2 dates. Texas has 2 dates
Okay.
because of the heat, and so we always observe the October.
Okay.
Because it's 2
I looked at. That's what I was thinking.
Oh, we'll go with the 1st of October.
Okay, so it's the 1st of October.
So,
Which is a Tuesday.
It's always the first.
so it's the 6th.
First 2 in October instead of August. I like it.
Yeah.
We're going to talk a little bit later under future meetings. The TML conference is coming up. That's in October. Registration opened today. So there is we're not going to be staying at the conference hotel. Because that usually books up in the first hour and a half. But we'll talk about that.
Where is
The
it?
dates. itself.
Oh, we'll talk
I'll
about it.
talk about
Okay.
that later.
Yeah. All right. Great. Let's move on to the next item. Discussion on utility billing, utility rates. And for this, we have our Public Works Director, John Gomez, and our Billing Clerk, Patricia Langford. I think that John's going to sit there and she's going to give us her brilliance.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, fellow staff members, and citizens. My name is Patricia Lamford. I'm the billing specialist. I put together a little presentation in hopes of how the electric bill has changed a little bit. We get a lot of questions every month after billing period as to what is this charge on my bill and why is it so much more than my actual charge. So I put together a little presentation hoping to answer some of those and clarify some questions and quash the rumors on the interwebs.
No.
That'll never happen.
Give me 1 second.
While he's bringing that up, I just wanted to thank you. I saw some of the email responses that you had sent out when people were asking about it, and just the thought and care that you put into that to help them understand it very
It
deeply.
makes my
with
job a lot
illustrations.
easier. What would make it easier if I could record myself and say, please hold for a very important message, and then play it. Because it's the same, I'm sure my coworkers can tell you, it's the same spill I give out, at least at the minimum 5 to 6 times a day.
I just appreciate how much you put into that to
Thank you.
bring awareness to that. It was definitely extra effort. It wasn't, I mean, the minimum, if you were going for the minimum, you surpassed that significantly. So
Thank you, I appreciate that. The council passed an ordinance for number 2024-003 that commenced on January 1 of this year. The changes would be first noticed on the February bill. We bill in arrears and would affect the billing period of December 27th of 2023 through January 27th of 2024. Those are always our billing timeframes, from the 27th to the 27th. In order to accurately bill energy utilities, the city decided to separate the cost of purchasing the energy and the cost of generating the energy into 2 line items. The cost of purchasing the energy is a set rate adopted for the fiscal year 2024, plus the customer charge, which we all know is a base rate. The cost of generating the energy is the power cost recovery factor, or what you see on your bill, fuel adjustment. The PCRF is subject to change on a monthly basis based upon the market conditions. What is power cost recovery factor, PCRF? The PCRF is the variable portion of the wholesale power cost. It changes as needed based on factors in the wholesale market, including but not limited to increases or decreases in cost of natural gas, which is the fuel that generates the majority of electricity in Texas. And that's why it's more expensive than the fuel adjustment on natural gas. That's just pumped into your house. They don't have to refine it or produce it. If you've noticed the price of gas for your vehicle fluctuating, then you won't be surprised to learn the price of natural gas is doing the same. 99% of your power comes from natural gas, along with renewables such as wind and solar. Natural gas prices can trend up or down depending on supply and demand. The Houston Ship Channel factors the supply side that affects prices to include natural gas productions, imports, storage inventory levels. Increases in supply trends to pull down tends to pull down the price, while decreases tends to push the prices up, much like at our gas pump. The next slide will show you, these are the fixed rates that generate the first line item, and it includes the energy cost times the customer charge, which we know is the base rate. I highlighted senior rates because if you are a senior citizen and you've asked for that rate, you will get it at that price, which is different from everybody else. Regular citizens get it at $15 for the base rate, 0.0463 for the energy charge. And if you're a commercial, you'll get the $35 base rate. Usually it's because it's a bigger meter, and the charge for the energy charge is still the same, 0.0463. In the previous year, for fiscal year 2023, as you can see, the energy charge was a little bit more, and that's because that already included the fuel charge in there, the fuel adjustment. So that didn't change. And this year, you guys decided to put it in 2 line items so we could be more accurate in billing. On my next slide, I know it's probably hard for you guys to see, but I took a bill and I showed you what it was prior to the changes compared to what it is now. The energy charge was 528 kilowatt hours, and doing it the old way times 0.1128 plus the base rate brought the energy charge, just the electric portion, to $74.56. Doing it the way we do it now, remembering that the PCRF fluctuates, that fuel adjustment fluctuates, and I used, just for purposes of an example, I used this month's fuel adjustment, and it was at 0.0679. As you can see, the energy rate itself was $39.45. The PCRF was $35.85. Together, your bill is $75.30 with a difference of 74 cents. So it's not very much different from the way we used to bill. It's just we're letting you see that what you're paying for the exact energy charge and what it takes to generate that fuel that goes into your house, which you have complete control of. People ask me, well, where's this going? I don't know. I don't know what your energy habits are. There's a lot of factors that come into play. What you set your AC on, do you have energy efficient windows, energy efficient appliances? Are they old? Do you have an older AC unit that needs to be serviced? Those are all things that I can't do, but a citizen is welcome to contact an electrician and get a study done to see where they can make those changes to make their house more energy efficient. My last slide is my CPS bill. I am a CPS member. And as you can see, I was billed for this month $199.94 for just my energy. If I billed it the way I was billing in
Sorry, I was like, what am I looking at? Sorry, I had not. I was stuck on that slide. I didn't see that you broke this out.
That's what she was talking to.
So
Yeah, so the next
that's
one.
yours. Yeah.
Okay.
There you
Okay.
go. Sorry. $199.94.
$199.94 is what I paid for my energy in San Antonio. If I took my energy of 1,647 kilowatts and charged myself like I was billing here in Castroville, my bill would have been $188.09 with a difference of $11.85. And I put that in there because I get the constant comment, well, CPS doesn't do it like that. Yes, they do. And as you can see, not only do they charge a fuel adjustment, they charge a regulatory adjustment, a peak energy charge. They put a lot of other extra stuff in their bill. And I know I've also seen a Bandera, Bandera Electric Co-op. Their rates are a little bit lower, maybe because they have a wholesale that's cheaper. I don't know. But they too have, and I think Ms. Howe can attest, they do also have a lot of other charges on top of their bill. But as you can see, comparing, I'd have been better off living here in Castroville. But I just wanted to let you kind of see the comparison that we are pretty much on point. And on average, your bill, depending on how much energy you use, will fluctuate. It's usually, this month I saw less than $5 of how we would have billed you had we billed you the old way. In conclusion, I would like to remind everybody that I know somebody mentioned the sewer rates. October is coming upon us. Start watching your water consumption. October 1st, well, actually it's September 27th through January 27th is the winter consumption months. We take the average of the 3 months, we throw out the highest reading of those 4 months and average the 3, and that's going to be your sewer rate. You have complete control over whether it's $150 or $30. The average is for 1,000-gallon sewer charge, which comes up to about $45. So everybody can control that if they watch their consumption. Any questions?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Karen, please go ahead.
On one of the slides, it highlighted senior inside, and then below it was senior outside. What is the difference?
So the rates, it used to be a difference. If you were outside of the city limits, you paid a little bit of a higher rate. And it's like that with water. If you live outside of the city limits, your rate is a little bit more on water. On the energy, as you can see, it's all the same. You're going to pay the same whether you're inside or outside. And I'll be honest with you, we have some people who are senior outside.
I was gonna say,
Because I have not.
senior inside was Castroville and senior outside was Karen's rate, or she can remember all.
So if you remember, we do have, and please feel free to get in touch with Patricia and do a deeper dive. But
So I got a quick question regarding the age for senior rate. Is it the 65 and over, or if it's 65 and over? Okay. Okay. Okay.
Now we're going to talk about the application of a delay, and Deborah and I can get in. That's on your agenda tonight, the policy change. That is for 60 and over, so a slight difference. That's for having your bill, not paying it when it's due.
So there's two things that I want to remind people. One is that ACOG, Alamo Area Community of Governments, has a weatherization program. So I'm one of the board members for ACOG as well, and they were saying that they still have plenty of funding for their weatherization. We are inside of that Alamo Area COG. So if people want to reach out to them, they have weatherization assistance, and they have funds available to help people weatherize their homes, reduce their power bills. The other thing is, when you look at inside and outside rates, if you remember, our city limits are separate from our what's called our CCN, our area where we serve electricity. We have a little bit that we serve outside of city limits. We have a lot of area that's inside of city limits that we don't serve, that CPS serves, and we only get a franchise fee off of that. And then with our water and our sewer, it extends pretty dramatically outside of our city limits, and so we still do service people that are outside of our city limits. If you think about the Creekside, right? Creekside is one of those instances. They're outside of city limits, so they pay a different rate than people inside city limits. Okay. Any other questions? Great. Thank you, Patricia. That was amazing.
Good presentation, except for Scott not bored and it's like,
And I didn't know this.
All right. Next item is consider and take appropriate action on amendments to the utility policy for delay of payment date for individuals over the age of 60. And for this, we have Public Works Assistant Kathy Adams.
I want to mention, you all had some discussion at the last meeting. We recorded the verbiage. You approved this at the last meeting in a vote. I think it was 4-1 to approve it. But we had agreed that we're going to bring it back for ratification. So that's the intent of tonight, is just to confirm that we got it right and that you're okay with the language. Go ahead, Ken.
The only thing that's changed from the previous version to this version is on the page that says July 23rd, and it's in blue, and it's adding for people who are on supplemental security income, SSI, and that is a Social Security program that people can get. And the only thing that they would need to for that would be to provide us with their benefit verification letter. Everything else is based on age. Anyone over 60 qualifies, and that covers anyone that's on Social Security. And it delays the bill, the penalty for being late.
It does not, again, for your for clarification for you and for anybody else listening, is this is a delay of when the amount is due. And it will mean that a penalty won't be assessed if it's paid by that date. But if the person still doesn't pay it, then all bets are off, right? The late fees are assessed, everything. The policy doesn't waive those fees if the person doesn't comply with the new date, right? The grace period that's been extended. The other thing I wanted to point out, again, just to be super clear on this, one of the things that was asked for and provided was a clarification from our city attorney about what is it the city is required to do according to the Public Utility Commission of Texas, because we heard from at least one resident that also is involved in this type of business that the city was required to offer this, and she has clarified that we are not required to provide this. That doesn't mean it's not the right thing to do. It doesn't mean we can't do it. You can. You're able to do this policy, and you have in fact already passed it. This is for ratification. But just to clarify, in the intervening 2 weeks, we sought and received a legal opinion about that, and that portion of the law does not apply to general law cities. There's a specific carve out for us. So we're really doing this because you all want to add this to your policy, not because we're overlooking something that the state required us to do or that kind of thing.
So the city of San Antonio would be required to do it. We're not required to do it.
Well, I'm gonna fine tune what Scott said a little bit there. The reason it's not applicable to the city and not mandatory in the city is because we are municipally owned utilities. And the code, throughout the codes that are applicable, it makes a distinction between municipally owned utilities versus special utility districts, municipal utility districts, and a whole host of other types of utilities. And so generally municipally owned utilities belong to general law cities.
I want to add one other thing, if it's okay. People call us all the time with the need that they cannot pay their bill this month, all or none of it for whatever reason. And Tricia can attest to this. She talks to them more than I or Elizabeth do, but we work with them as best as we can. We try to get them help through community opportunities for them to get additional funding, make payment arrangements with them to delay their payments or split them up or things like that. So we work with as many people as we can. They just have to call and ask. Now we can't, let everything go forever, but we do work with them. And some people, it's a continuous basis until they get back on their feet. So we do have an internal sympathy and empathy for them.
That goes back to that cash flow cares approach. I mean, we really try to take that approach to a lot of different aspects of what the city's doing.
Great. I had a question on, so where we say until the 25th day after the bill is issued, would it be better for us to actually state a date? Because and this is really from a legal standpoint, I just want to make sure that it's clear to people. If they say, well, I didn't get we mail the bills out on the 6th or the 10th,
Yeah.
the 10th. We mail the bills out on the 10th. If somebody says, I don't get it, then does that create an issue? Is it better for us, more clear for us to state?
Like the 30th of the month or something
Be-
like that.
That would require me to run a whole separate billing.
It's just easier to say 25 days after?
The way it
works for just those people, and it's not an easy task.
Okay.
The way our billing works is the bills go out on the 10th and the first due date is 15 days later.
Okay.
So it's generally the 15th. And then 10 days after that, 25 days is cutoff day. So if they're not, or the day after that, the 20th.
Is that clear enough?
What I will say is, I don't know that I have ever worked with a non-municipality with bills on the billing period that y'all are doing. This is wholly unique to Castroville. So having said that, I think the language is fine as it is, not for the 20th day, the way that it's set out there, because that tracks closer to that exception language that is within, existing within the utility code.
Okay.
So I think that'll work.
Perfect. Great.
Also, I'd like to add that everyone does have the ability to receive their bill as soon as I create it by email. So you can have it both printed and emailed, or just printed or just emailed. But I encourage everybody to get an email, because if I create that bill on the 7th or the 8th, you've got it. As soon as it's created in the system, it sends it out. So you already have it, so you can start making your plans budget-wise to take care of.
Love it. All right. Any questions or commentary from council?
Can I look at it briefly? It was not in the.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
All right. Any from over here?
It wasn't effective.
Yes, it was.
It wasn't effective.
I put it in Monday. We didn't have it till Monday.
Yeah, but I got the packet on Friday, so it wasn't in the copy I looked at. That's why I wanted to read
Oh,
it.
and the current pack. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, because I asked for it on Monday.
Sure.
And
And
so
that, it was sent out.
it's all good.
Right.
My thing's acting up anyway. Hopefully, look at it.
Yeah, I heard that you don't exist now.
My email address has disappeared.
You and her having all this
Yeah.
trouble?
By the way, the email address for District 1 on there is not working right now. So if you send something to District 1, that's the only reason, but
Yeah.
we'll get that worked through.
Just CC the mayor.
No, people
That's
don't
fine.
have to get hold of me. If I'm not at home, I'm at the store, so trust me, they know. if
And
my
you should
book-
have the hard copy
So
of
you're right
your
on the
book
bus.
now.
I don't mind. All right,
Yeah, you're.
great.
it
So
should be item number
I'm making a motion.
11.
please.
It's in your, oh, I'm sorry. yeah.
You're supposed to read it, so I can say it accurate.
Okay, so I think the motion that we're looking for is consider or take approve the utility policy for delay of payment as read.
So moved.
And second. And you missed that.
You missed out. All right. I have a motion by Councilwoman Martinez, second by Councilman Carey. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. See, Karen, it only took us 6 months, but we did it right. All right. Sure.
Thank you.
We'll call it the Karen of business.
Next item is consider and take appropriate action.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, thank you, Jan. Next item is consider and take appropriate action on applications reviewed for open positions on the city boards and commissions. And for this, we have Deborah. Thank you, ma'am. Deborah?
Yes. At the last meeting, you had two members, or two applicants come in and introduce themselves or tell a little bit about themselves. Tonight, you have that option to make a formal appointment. We also have a applicant for the airport board that you have met him before, back in, I think it was February when we had the alternate position open. I did reach out to all three of those applicants by chance to see if they might still be interested. And I believe I have Dr. I guess Turner's in there. He wasn't able to come tonight. He asked me to read his information. He sent me an email and said he would like to, but he is in active school shooting or shooters trainings exercise because he is in law enforcement. And he sent out what he would like for y'all to know. He said, I would like to serve on this board because I believe this airport is positioned for long-term growth. And I'd like to be a part of this growth process. I believe in slow, well thought out, holistic, financially sound, socially appropriate growth at a hangar at San Antonio International Airport from 1980 until 2020 when I moved to Castroville Airport and currently occupy hangar B5. I also have a hangar at San Angelo Airport. I'm a private pilot licensed 1975 with a single engine commercial instrument rating. I have 4,000 flying hours, 1,500 flying military hours, 100 flying combat hours. I'm a physician specializing in forensic psychiatry. I also work as a police officer where I hold a master's in law enforcement. I'm also a retired U.S. Air Force flight surgeon holding the rank of colonel. I was chief flight surgeon for the 433 AW, a medical clinic commander and a commander of the deployed medical clinic in Afghanistan. I was born and raised in San Antonio and currently live there. My education from elementary school through medical school was in Texas. My only living experience out of Texas has been 3 combat tours. Again, I'd like for you all to consider me for a position on the airport board as I believe I would bring a different perspective that can make Castroville Airport better now and in the future. When you do decide in the next council meeting would be when you get appointing. There is 2 full board positions. I do have an alternate position open. That gentleman had just taken it on and I have not heard back from him. And so I'm going to reach out to the alternate again, just make sure he got the email stating that he was up for,
You're talking about the alternate on the airport, Kenneth Lane?
Yes.
Okay.
No. It's the other gentleman that we had just appointed in February when we looked at all the applicants. But I'm going to reach out to him just in case.
Yeah, that was Kenneth.
But we do have this.
Yeah, he's the one that lives just,
He's the landowner.
No.
Oh.
he was the last one that we appointed when the other ones came in.
No. This gentleman was done just in February. And he was put in.
January for Kenneth.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so he was done in, Mr. Lang was done in January. This gentleman was done in February. And so, and he was only on a short time. And I haven't heard back from him. He's a gentleman that I think him and his wife were both very active in the airports and had several children, I think. So maybe they're out. But we do have 2 full board positions. And then for the ones that you saw last time, we do have Kelly Hogue, and she has requested to be put on the library board. And we do have 3 full board positions and an alternate position. We do need people on that board. So we need to get the word out, because this will make them have a quorum for, say, if they needed a special call meeting. That will, then we also have.
On the library, we have 2 open full board positions, right? Not 3?
And then 2 vacant.
I believe there are 3
We have 3.
full open.
Which other one is
Well,
open?
Time out, and maybe okay, where am I?
We got Lauren, Isabel, and Crystal.
Oh, we moved Crystal.
We moved her
full
up.
at the last meeting.
Yeah,
Right.
we moved her up. So we now have, and I probably forgot to change mine. I'm sorry.
That's
We
right.
have 2 full board positions open and 2 alternates, because Crystal had asked to be moved up.
Did we not meet Kelly Hogue last
Yes.
meeting?
We sure did.
Yep.
Yes.
But is this for a different position?
No,
This is us to
Okay,
give our official.
Okay, well, it says new applicant, so I was curious.
well,
So we heard Kelly Hogue.
I thought that meant this meeting.
No,
Okay, so we can.
she is a
take
new
that.
applicant. She's not a reappointment, as is Houston Marchman.
Houston, yeah.
Y'all saw
Right, we
him
heard him
last
last
time
time.
Yeah.
And then we heard Kirby Turner
previously.
And did we talk to Kenneth Lang about moving to a full board position?
I have not.
I
I don't.
had during the last airport board meeting, he was perfectly fine with that.
Okay.
He wished to be removed or moved up.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's
We can.
perfectly fine with that. With our 2 other people that.
Well, and we have 2 open ones anyway, so.
Yeah.
So because we heard, I know that we have a policy of making sure that we hear them before we appoint them, but since we already heard Kirby Turner the previous time, if you'd like to appoint both of those, then I think that would be fully acceptable.
Okay.
So it sounds like what we have is still vacancy on the library board that we need to recruit for.
Yes.
But the recommendation, both of the positions, 1 and 2, would expire at the same time, so it doesn't matter which one we put Kelly Hogan with that if you're amenable. And then on the airport advisory board, they both expire at the same time, so it doesn't really matter. So maybe Kirby at position 2 and Kenneth Land up to position 4. And then did anybody talk to Ed Esquivel about moving from the alternate to the full board?
I have not spoken with him.
Okay.
I can reach out to him again and make sure. I'm not sure.
I think we should do that better in the future, but I mean, Houston has served on a bunch of different boards. He's got probably actually a lot more experience with dealing with board kind of stuff like that. So, I mean, it's up to you guys, but I think that it's probably best to go ahead and make that appointment now, and then we have other ones that are going to be expiring next year if Ed decides that he wants to move up to a full board.
Can we do this all in one big motion?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm ready.
If you'll do it, as you do
Ready?
each one.
Yep.
Ready? All right. All right, for the airport board, I make a motion that we put Colonel Turner in position 2 and move Kenneth Lang up to position 4. For the library, we put Ms. Hogue in position 1. And for planning and zoning, we put Houston in position 2.
Second.
Great. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Congratulations, Houston.
Another news.
Double your pay.
Yeah, thank you for stepping up. It can be hard to fill these, and it's a decent amount of work, so I appreciate anybody stepping up to that. Thank you. All right. And I've served on boards with Houston. You're incredibly methodical. I got to tell you, because you're sitting here, you're very methodical with this kind of stuff. You're very, I have always appreciated the way that you look at the things. We served on the Historic Landmark Commission together. Just the way that he approaches things, it's thoughtful, methodical. I appreciate it. So this will be helpful. Which means that you've got meetings coming up. All right. Next item is staff reports. For this, we have Scott. I'm not going to read all the staff reports.
And I'm reviewing, I was reviewing as always. What's that? Yeah,
I think we should.
I'm not sure if this report was the airport report was prepared by our new airport administrator or not. I didn't get to confirm that.
I know when I asked that question to Brianna, if I was to send out just a notice to him, and the time he didn't have a computer that's working, and they did it together, she said.
Yeah, so I know they're working on getting his computer replaced. I'm gonna flip through these real quick. I went through them earlier. There wasn't a lot I wanted to comment on other than it looks like fuel is actually not doing terrible at the airport.
Quick update while you're looking at that for the airport. The gentleman that was in the plane crash, he is out. He met with ESD that responded and everything, and thanked them all in person and everything. So he's doing very, very well.
And he's back up in the air.
No, he's still got grafts
Isn't he?
and everything.
I thought he was getting a.
He's working on it. Yeah. He hasn't been medically cleared for that part yet, but he's on an outpatient basis now. And
man, it's fortunate to be alive. I mean,
he's
it's
doing
a miracle.
very, very well.
And the response from the ESD was insanely good.
Yes.
Very impressed with that.
Yes. So
That ESD is. I really like the direction that they're going.
Oh yes.
I haven't seen changes to our insurance rates though.
Pete and them that were out there, I mean, they were on the ball, doing everything they're supposed to do and responding and going through their checklists, and it was an awesome outcome. I've seen the best side and I've seen the worst side. So
yeah.
So I wanted to just call attention to a couple of things that stood out to me in the staff reports, and there's only a couple, but and then if y'all have questions, I'll do my best to address those. But in the community development, so I mentioned the fuel and its sales is up. I mean, it didn't look too bad. On the community development, when you look at the number of permits that were issued and the fees collected, so in 2023 we collected $32,000 in building permit fees, and year to date we've already collected $71,000. That will be one item, if you were to look closely at the proposed budget, that we've increased the revenue there. Now, keep in mind, we also added a position, so that revenue is what's really justifying the position. And just the number of permits. When you look at residential permits, we're at, this is June, and we've already had more since then. Like I said, there's 15 pending. They're at 35 compared with whatever that was, 13 last year, or 34 versus 13. So quite a bit. Thoroughfare plan, it's not in here, but we actually met with the county today, and they informed us that they really want to wait until TxDOT figures out what they're going to do with the alternate route for 90. There's two paths. You can either go north or south, and if it goes north, it's going to completely wreck the thoroughfare plan that the county has developed. So they want to figure out, where is it going to go? What's the plan? And that probably is going to take until the end of the year at the least. And much of our plan really is impacted by our ETJ and just beyond the ETJ, which is really in the county. So we need our plan to match theirs. So I'm expecting that to go into kind of the holding pattern, if you will, until the county says that they're ready to adopt theirs. And then we're going to work to adopt ours simultaneously.
That is except for the north side thoroughfare, but the cutoff.
The northern route?
The northern route,
moving forward.
That's moving forward. It's not really on the thoroughfare plan, but yes, on the northern route, we also met this afternoon about that. And there's going to be some progress. We're going to work with developers to build that out. And the county's got a plan for talking to the landowners, et cetera. So that's going to continue to move forward.
They're ready to pull the trigger.
I want to give kudos to our interim library director, Andrea Crispin. Golly, I'm trying to remember her last name. I don't say her last name very often. Andrea Crispin, who put together the library report. She and
I know her and Chrissy are.
Yeah, Chrissy. She and Chrissy worked on it. Yeah. And you'll see that they did our best. Revenue, I don't have a year-over-year comparison, but total revenue is around $7,000 that they brought in, and that's all just from doing copies and stuff. But one other kind of thing that just pulling out of that report, when you look at the Medina Valley, MVISD in June of 23 was 663. Now we did a targeted campaign to the MVISD people who live who go to MVISD but live outside the city limits on the eastern side of the county, and you'll see that they're up from 663 to 894, and I think that fairly certain that there's a direct correlation there between our marketing efforts and their involvement. And
And how are we targeting them? Is that
mailers?
mailers?
Direct mailers, yeah.
Okay.
I think we've got some swag for people who come in from MPIs.
Great. Love to see that. If you could share that with us, that'd be good.
Sure.
Thanks.
I think we did in a past report, but I'll get Darren to read you.
Cool. Thanks.
Pull that out and send it back out. On our Parks and Rec, when we adjourn, hopefully before you leave, I wanted to take you and show you the restroom trailers. So they're in the parking lot behind City Hall, and I've got the keys so you can go in and check them out. But the restroom trailers were picked up. One of the items that's in this report is a potential calendar for free swim. I don't think it's mentioned in the report, but our open swim.
It's right here. Yeah.
Well, I don't think it's mentioned in the report about the splash pad, but unfortunately, splash pad has suffered some significant issues. The controller, we bought a new controller, and the new controller doesn't work. They have a leak under the slab that's an issue that it's all warranted work, but if you're a kid and you want to be using it, you don't really care what the cost is or whether it's warranted. So it's unfortunate that stuff has happened, but we're working to get all that fixed. And to have that happening at the same time we don't have open swim, we know is not a good look for the city. So,
And we don't have a river to swim in because it's nasty.
What's that?
We don't have a river to swim in.
No.
I mean, normally we've got
river.
so many options for water cooling down,
and this summer has been rough.
So have we advertised out now that we have open swim?
I don't know. And in fact, I didn't get a chance. This doesn't really. It's just a slide, and I know he spoke to it during Parks Board meeting, and I sat here, and he sat there, and I listened, and I do not remember what he said about open swim. Last time I asked him about it, they were not fully committed to opening. They had a plan, but I think they were working on lining up the lifeguards and making sure that their program. So I'll confirm that and then let you all know what the plan is for open swim. But he has a calendar in here.
Yeah.
But the thing that makes me question it is the calendar starts last week.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we were open for open swim last week. So maybe we were. I will say that there are some pictures of the new device. You can see it being installed and then in use. And that's the filtration and aeration kind of. It's something that's designed to cool off the pool. I think this has been immensely popular with the parents, especially now the splash pad isn't open, with parents with small kids. I know that during the times that they've had teams and stuff, you still got parents with kids there. And they've been able to take advantage of some of that. And then there's a survey in there. The survey isn't super sophisticated. It just talks about what people prefer, what types of improvements they prefer compared to the others.
What's the history of the survey? I don't remember any notification.
It's still out there.
Recent one?
Yeah, it's going. It's still being taken.
Okay.
They're still taking survey responses. I don't think he included a link, but I think if you go to our city website, the survey should be in the parks page on the city website. At least I certainly hope that's the case now that I've said it. I think that's all I want to talk about on parks.
So like some of these questions, there's been 6 people answered on the survey.
They had a lot more than that. They had 300 and some odd responses.
It was 200 at least.
Well, I was looking at what are the numbers down below it then? 0, 1, 2, 3, 3.
Which one?
I'm just not reading the tables right.
On question 1, are you looking at question 1?
Question 2. Question 1, it looks like there was 4 people.
Okay, looking at question 1, you have pickleball.
Yeah.
The number of responses are in that total column, 180, 290, 280.
Oh, I guess what are the
bar graph on
what are the
top.
markers?
I think it's the average ranking of that item because these were all ranking based questions.
Yes.
Okay.
So you move them up.
so it's
Along the top is first, second, third, and fourth.
So these are the most popular.
Right.
So pickleball.
So who ranked it? Think about it. Like, what percentage of people ranked it their first choice versus their second choice versus their third choice, and then how many responses they got in total is in that total column, and then it tells you how they ended up ranking out, right? And that's the order that they're in. So, that's the survey.
Hey, the
So
last
the schedule is posted. So the open swim schedule is on Facebook, and it'll start next Thursday.
a week from this Thursday.
It starts Thursday.
Oh, this Thursday? Sorry, starts this Thursday, not next Thursday. This
Okay,
Thursday.
so the 25th.
Jonah is listening to our meeting. Thank you, Jonah.
How are we advertising that?
It's on Facebook. I know that.
He said he's on Facebook.
Okay, it might behoove us to maybe put it on next door, because a lot of people are out there like, oh, what are our kids gonna do? No pool or anything, so if we can just put a flash message or info to people and say, hey, pool is open now for open swim.
Okay.
That way we can get the word out.
I don't think iInfo would be the right, but you're right. I think Nextdoor and
Somewhere,
Facebook,
yeah.
Spot.
it's the easiest way.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's some stuff in here about parks rules and stuff. Jonah, don't tell me about this now because I don't really want to hear about it now. But there are, we'll have to get into why these were included. There's not really an explanation of why they're included.
I guess the one is the parks rules, but in that paragraph in yellow. But I guess
The paragraph in yellow, anyway, there's some things in here I don't fully understand, so I'll have to talk to them about why it was in here and what's being proposed. Obviously, this is just informational. It's not an agenda item, so when it becomes an agenda item, there'll be a better and more thorough explanation. Just for your information, it mentions grant opportunities at the end. We were going to go look for a $750,000 matching grant. It was the same grant we had applied to before. This year, there's so much funding that they actually made both indoor and outdoor grants available. Unfortunately, we're not applying. We had hoped to, but we just the deadline was like August 1st, and we don't have everything we need. We weren't going to be able. We had to have a public meeting in order to. That's one of the requirements for the grant that wasn't required last time, but is required this time, and it just wasn't enough time to get it together. So unfortunately, we're not going to apply for that now. Now these things happen; they come up every single year, and they have. So we'll anticipate applying next year. So I just wanted to let you know about that. I will, as far as the police report goes, again, kind of couple notable things. One, Officer Knudsen, Detective Knudsen, getting his training taken care of is fantastic. I think we say this. He graduated from the Law Enforcement Command Officer Program, LECOP. That's not an easy program to go through. It takes a lot of dedication and time and everything else. And so the fact that he's gone through it and graduated is fantastic. We're very proud of him and grateful. That just deepens our bench from a leadership standpoint within our police department. The other thing I'm going to mention is we are very, very close to being fully staffed. That would include both of the COPS grant positions that you all approved. So that'll be 12 full-time officers that are on. So we're very excited about that. And then
going back to, I guess, the animal control officer, he also just went for a week-long training or several-day training. Anything report on that?
Yeah. They both went through training.
Computer just crashed. Sorry.
Yeah.
Do what? The Florida conference. Yes. By
That
the
was
way,
the animal services training? Okay.
do I?
So why can't I go to one?
Yeah. Go play with
You
dogs.
could be an animal services officer.
Look,
Right?
as I tell people think you're on holiday when you go to these conferences and stuff. All hotels look the same from the inside.
Yeah.
And that's where you are for the
All
most.
the time.
Yes, you do get to go to dinner sometimes at night. Somebody will take you to dinner. Great. Woohoo. I'd rather be with my family.
Yeah.
But anyway, he does provide some crime statistics. I won't get into those. And the chief is still here, so if you have specific questions, you can ask him. I did want to point out kind of the activity report for the code compliance.
Yes.
This is one of the areas that we're going to seek your input on when we do the presentation, is how we can better do the report. We tried to, these are all listed by address rather than by case, because some of them have 5 or 6 cases on the same address. So I asked her to put them all into one by address. This isn't exactly what I had asked for, Chief, but it's really close. It's not exactly what I asked for, but the big issue is, some of these haven't had a lot of activity, like, and so again, we're going to dive into that when we do our presentation, why there hasn't been activity. We're going to get with the prosecutors and judge and talk about what are our remedies. And these are mainly this case list are the ones where there wasn't compliance, right? There's a bunch of them. There's hundreds where we've had compliance. Great. These the ones that are stuck on here are the open cases that have been non-compliant, and what do we do next? And so that's kind of what our presentation is going to focus on.
That's when we had the internet issue.
Oh yeah.
After that meeting,
I forgot about that. Worst freaking possible time to have an internet outage. We had a boring company hit Rise Broadband's main trunk line, and they are working on a redundant. In fact, I think there should be a redundant supply in place now. It was supposed to be pretty soon.
I think it's as soon as they
Wednesday,
get lost up.
Yeah.
It happened around 3:00.
Yep.
And or no, maybe it was Tuesday around 3:00, and then nothing Wednesday, and it didn't come back till Thursday morning. Whatever. It was terrible because that was exactly the time when we're trying to get all our stuff done for your packets. We're getting reports. Anyway, it was terrible. And going home didn't help because I'm on the same internet there.
Scott, I did like to mention on the software for the code compliance.
Sure.
I actually sat through like a 30-minute demonstration from that. He hasn't responded back with the cost and everything else, but a lot of the stuff that you would want is in there, and you can query it several different ways, and you can add email addresses to that, you photographs to it, everything all in one place. It's essentially, you could actually have, I think they said 2 viewers, so you could have someone that like on the council that view it, and then you would have 2 users that could utilize this. He said it's really probably patterned after our growth, how many people you're going to have on it, the cost wise. But I also asked for the number of Texas agencies that or Texas cities that are on that. But it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool.
There's
graphs, everything.
The other thing that we were already exploring, and again, you were out helping another agency when we had this call, but John Gomez was already pursuing kind of a report a pothole type deal. And we have about 8 different ways to do that. Like there's a bunch of different communications. Our website hosting group could do it. iInfo could do it. Like there's a bunch of different ways to integrate that. But iWork is the one that we've been looking at because iWork is what we already use for our work order system. So creating something that would talk through our website and through an app on your phone that goes directly to the work order process that allows the person who's completing a work order to update it, and then it automatically goes back to the person who put it in. That was kind of that's the path we're pursuing because it's already there. And they do offer something like that. And so he was looking at that for the public works side of things. But because we're utilizing iWork for our code compliance as well, the same opportunities exist for people to report tall grass on their neighbor, whatever it is, and to get those updates. It'll be a different flow, a different workflow, a different approval flow, and probably a different response. The way our automated responses, et cetera, the types of things that we set up will be different for public works versus code compliance and animal services. But that is something that the chief and I haven't had a chance to sit down with that same company, but that salesperson to talk about that specific aspect of it. And that's something that I don't think I'll have to see if we actually have to pay extra for, because I think because public works is doing it, I kind of think it's just a separate.
The thing that I liked about that other software that I don't like about, because we looked at iWork, you gave me access to dig through it, and the reporting, and maybe we just don't have it set up right. It doesn't have a good flow. So I couldn't go back and see, this is when the case was opened, this is who opened it, this is what happened. Like I can't see the story of any property. I can't see.
The detail.
I think that's just no offense. I think that's a user issue. I think you and I probably need greater training on what we're using. I'm just being candid. I'm not interested in revisiting what we're doing, like that, changing from iWork to someone else, because we've got so much time and effort and training invested in the program we're using.
Yeah, if it is effective, that's great.
Well, it is. It just doesn't. We'll continue to do that you need, which we need to fix, right. And I think we can. We need to probably have I need to have a training on that. So then,
sure. And it might not be a bad idea.
Not everybody has the same permissions.
What are you talking about?
To view stuff.
On iWork?
Yeah.
I didn't know that anybody had permissions other than Devin and myself, and I shared my permission with the mayor.
Right.
Did y'all have permissions too?
No.
Right.
No.
I have something to say.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Chief, but not with this issue.
Okay. So with the code compliance thing, really the idea is to make sure that we are able to stay on top of it. If you can't tell me the story of what's going on, if a code compliance officer can't tell me through the software what the story is, then it's really hard to stay on top. It's hard to stay accountable. We can put all the rules and regulations into place that we want, but if we can't track it and understand where we are, what the next steps are, and have good follow-up from our prosecutor on what's actually happening with it from that point, then it is just another exercise in futility that we're just sticking stuff into and just churning it out, right? So whatever works toward that, I don't care what it is. I'm not asking for the solution, but I do want to have a solution in place. Councilman?
Yeah, I noticed on the radar chart for Lower Lacoste Road that there is 12.6% of vehicles excessively above the speed limit. I believe that like exceeds the 10% threshold in the traffic calming policy. So I understand I wasn't able to get you this request ahead of time, but if we could get more information about where in the process we are on Lower Lacoste Road and if there are actions that the council needs to take to get traffic under control.
When I look at all the charts and graphs, there's a few more of them that were kind of like right on the edge of the month and breaking off. Probably Lower Lacoste is probably one of the worst ones that I've seen. And essentially what I did with that is when we get those, we send them out to all the officers. When I looked at it, I pulled just that graph off and I resent it out to the officers and said, this is a problem area. Let's work it. And I noticed the officers working it just to get that down. And we've hit a couple other spots like that too as well. So we can streamline and get it in there so they can start working that traffic in that area.
Generally, it's unless there's a stop sign or something. Generally, it's not that a council needs action. It's the proper response is go do more enforcement, write more tickets.
Well, and I was looking for the document here just now, but I could not find it on my computer. The traffic calming policy does say that the first step is a traffic study and increased enforcement, but if that doesn't cause it to go down, then there are other steps which I believe would require council's involvement, hiring engineers to look at actually making changes to the road. So I guess what I'm asking is just, is this chart the start of the process, or have we already been doing increased enforcement for a while?
We have been doing increased enforcement. Lower Lacoste is, it's historically have been the speeders on that road. And I think it's probably, maybe a bypass that they're getting around or something like that. They're probably not the residents that live on the street, more than likely. Typically, it's those people that are passing through. Sometimes it is the residents. Be careful what you ask for when you want more enforcement. But really looking at it from that vantage point is, I think, educating the officer, saying, "Hey, look, here's the time. It's not all day. It's just these times, and that's when we need to start enforcing that. And we'll address that issue and then come back and probably put another study out there and see what the trailer tells us. See how enforcement."
I do have a funny story from another city I worked in where we had a person that came up and was really insistent that people were running that stop sign all the time. We needed to do enforcement. I know you, because you've run across it too. And the poor
wonder what happened.
The first ticket that got written at that stop sign was to that citizen who lodged a complaint. But you can't argue we weren't doing what we were supposed to. It wasn't like they were looking for that person.
Right.
That was the first person we wrote a ticket to. But they ticketed several others. It was kind of funny. Like, yeah, you're right. People are running that stop sign. You have firsthand knowledge of that. Anyway.
It might not be a bad idea to just leave the trailer in place on Lower Lacoste. Give it 30 days and increase the enforcement on there as well. That way people just get used to the fact that it's there and see how that correlates with any kind of reduction. The increased enforcement would lower the stats on the tracker.
Does it go, is this an increase compared to last time? Like, I'm thinking summer break, the high school kids and everything flying down there to places. Could that be because they're out of school?
I'd have to look back on the dates and the months that we ran it, and look and see how that comparison is. I didn't even think about that, but it's historically been high.
Yeah, when you did there was another kind of trouble spot. You put out the radar several different places. I want to say it was Constantinople.
I believe so.
I think it was Constantinople, which is kind of similar because it connects up.
It's kind of a
bypass
area.
So it kind of makes sense that they're either shooting their way up to that 471 or down Constantinople, and it's just people coming off of from the Lacoste area or Divine, and they're booking it.
They're using their apps on their phones. What they're doing.
Either way, whether it's seasonal or not, this is that 12% is 700 cars a day going 36 or more.
Looking at how maybe we could pinpoint if it does turn out to be because of more kids flying through like they do.
Oh, it's plenty of adults.
Which population are we talking about?
Yeah, demographic.
Okay.
By the way, I was coming in from the Hennis back in the Hondo, and there was a radar trap, if you want to call that. And I want to say it was the county, the city, and DPS.
Oh.
They had the radar unit was out there on the other side of because it's 50 miles an hour out there. And I think there were five police cars. Again, those three agencies were writing tickets. They were breaking.
I would, as their statement says, don't drive through it like hell. I can assure you that they've got what they call street enforcement, and they're doing nothing but traffic, slowing those people down.
I came through there last Tuesday, and DPS had somebody pulled over. I watched him go by me. I said, "Oh, there's a BMW volunteering for a ticket. Come on." There he is.
In the state of Georgia, when you get a speeding ticket, you have to pay not only the county and the city and the state. Same amount.
Well, where that's at, they've had that trailer there for quite a length of time because I drive it every day. And it does make you you just catch it out of the corner of your eye.
Yeah.
And it tells you how fast you're going and you slow down. But
And
yes.
the guy behind you can see it too.
Or they can run over you, they can pass you, either one. So.
But this was actually a police car right there that was radio went in, and then around the corner, that's where they were pulling over.
Smart.
I got to give a shout out going back for the Parks and Recs. I think her name is Sandy.
Yes.
She is one exceptional employee.
Good.
But
I think we have a lot of them.
Well, you do, but she's the one and Jonah also, because you see him running around. But Mary and I walk our dogs early in the morning, and she is out there religiously at 7:00, hopping all over the place, picking trash up and everything. The whole park is in a lot cleaner situation because of her efforts. And she seems so happy and say hi to everybody. And
I'm trying to leverage her into doing additional duties because she's really good.
absolutely great person.
Just don't pull her off from doing that.
No, not pulling her off.
She's
but
doing
like,
far too much to keep it nice.
I wanted to get like pest control license and some other stuff that she
nice.
can do. All right. We're not done. I wanted to go highlight just a couple more items. I want to point out that several of these reports, they aren't maybe not exactly there totally, but one of the things I've kind of challenged people, the staff to do is give me some comparative data. Show me year over last year. And you'll see some of that wasn't there before. Parks is a good example of some of that. I think Public Works has some of that. Again, it's not exactly the data we wanted, but your input matters. If there's different information you want to see here or different format, please let me know. We're happy to try and provide it the way that you'd like to see it. The thing I was going to point out on the animal services, just looking at the number of intakes they've had, for dogs alone, they had, they did 358 vaccinations year to date. And I was looking at dogs. Where was it? It was a ton. Where is it? Well, I can't see it. There's dogs. Year to date, dogs intake was 228. Cat intake was 358. Just looking at by the numbers, right?
11 just at my house.
11 just at your house.
We thought it was 10. It's actually 11.
That's a lot for just two people to handle. And really, Josh does a lot of that.
Yeah.
And then one last thing, calling attention to the tourism report and the walking tour campaign receiving national recognition. He's put in for a couple of different marketing awards. You can kind of see the cutout of what was presented and what we were awarded on. But all of that just raises notoriety of Castroville, and that's kind of the end goal. But it's also produced some good marketing things that we can use locally. So I'm really proud of Mr. Ham's efforts and what he's trying to do to improve that there. For sure.
You mentioned during the Economic Development Council that we're in some magazine?
Yes.
Some big
Texas Monthly.
Mm-hmm.
There was a Texas Monthly article about the downtown revitalization that's taking place.
In fact,
Southern Living is the big one, yeah.
Then there's
That's a national.
that's two, and I think there's been
Well, I was with a guy, he's writing an article for another historic preservation magazine statewide that's, he's writing it up here, and it's going to be about the historic preservation of, in general, but what Castroville's doing. So
awesome.
And of course, we've been in the French newspapers. So we're getting
good publicity, y'all. That's all I have for staff reports. Were there any follow-up questions?
I do.
Yeah.
Great. What you got?
The status of the stuff on Dr. Best's property. The
That's
gravel
right.
road up streets.
Yeah, I
and
know.
everything.
I know. You
It's
and you mentioned that last.
I've been asking every month. You need to text him that.
I
I asked him in person.
You have. You asked me at the end of the last meeting,
Yes, I did.
and had you asked me this morning, I would have made sure I had an answer for you tonight, but I didn't.
So you'll have an answer for her tomorrow.
So I'll find out.
He knows that text.
Yeah, I know. The same. Well, I'm going to give you the update I gave you in person, so everybody hears the same update. So when that was raised, when the street contractor was doing work, now, whose is that? And at the time, it was determined that was Greenstone's. That was the person doing all the electrical improvements. That was their debris pile. And we know for a fact they've been adding to that pile. So even if that wasn't their original pile, they've definitely added to it, and there's some stuff there. So they're on the hook for cleaning it up. I don't know where that stands on getting them back out here to do it. And frankly, we may be at a point where we just, I don't think we fully paid them out. But anyway, I'll have to look. If there's any retainage, we may just take it out and take care of ourselves. But I'll look into that. I don't drive by it anymore. If I was driving by it every day like you are, I would be more on top of it. But.
All right. Thank you.
Yep. Great. Anything else over here?
Nope.
The city lots over where Rise Broadband has been using for a laydown yard, when are we getting that cleaned up? Do you know?
I don't know, and I don't know the circumstances of how that got approved because I think it was just something staff did without checking, which
We're renting it.
is nice. I don't think so. I don't think we're leasing it to them. I think now. Granted, they're giving us free services to all of our facilities, in perpetuity.
Oh, in perpetuity?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
That's okay.
we're getting value for sure.
Well, it's
but
value
that
for
wasn't part of that arrangement. But now that we've got that, that's great. But I need to follow up and see how much longer that's going to be there because it looks.
I think it's good just to stay on top of it.
It's one thing to be neighborly. It's another thing for it to stick around for as long as it has.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got you.
All right. Anything else? Great.
Future agenda items is whenever you get to that.
Next meeting is going to be long, so just.
I think one thing that we raised,
Yes.
the question that was raised
A bunch
today
of
that we
stuff
do
pulled off.
to address is it's on the tip of my tongue. It was the approval, permit approvals
For water.
for water,
The water
stagnation
Yeah.
that our policy provides for applicants for construction permits based on the stage 4 water.
Yeah, I think you have that planned for next meeting.
Yeah, I'm planning on bringing that.
What? I'm sorry, I didn't catch
This
all
is the
The water conservation.
drought contingency policy
Mhm.
and the
Suspend.
requirement to suspend the permits. We're going to discuss whether that's appropriate.
And if they're bringing in water, that's really not fair, so.
Right.
that. Okay, got it.
All right.
What else?
And you said something else, Scott, about something that.
Well, code compliance. We're going to talk about code compliance. We're going to talk about golf carts.
The budget.
We'll talk about the budget.
Yeah, you talked about a lot of these on the city administrator report.
Well, this is earlier on, and you said, I thought he had to do something with, oh, were you going to talk any more about the TML conference?
Yeah, that's in there. Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we are under future agenda items.
I wanted to look. Yes. I wanted to look into
So next item is discussion on future agenda items. I should go
Oh,
ahead
I'm
and
sorry, that's what we're doing.
I thought we already went there.
I didn't open it up.
We did, he just
Administrator
didn't
did.
open it.
Yeah. Jump the gun.
City attorney didn't catch that.
It's on the agenda.
There you go.
Yeah.
We're just moving along.
It doesn't go over.
It opens 23rd.
You what?
Hold on.
I'm just not sure where it's at.
Here, I'm pulling.
Where is it this year?
I'm pulling all that up because I haven't.
I
got
thought you
this
had it
email
memorized.
Saying, hey, registration's open today, and it made me remember. Oh yeah, you need to talk about where it
It's a
is.
South Quadrant.
Yeah, no,
That was
it's
the
in
recent.
Houston.
Oh, sorry.
It's at the George R. Brown Convention
We didn't
Center.
have that most updated,
Houston.
and I asked her to just put something out there.
It's in the George R. Brown Convention Center in Houston. Now, normally there's conflict with National Night Out. This year, because National Night Out falls on the 1st, which is this Tuesday, this is the October the 9th through the 11th. So I need to look and see if there's conflict with our council meeting, which there probably is.
Yep.
So
Where did you say it is?
it's at the George R. Brown Convention Center in
In
Houston.
Houston. That's a big conference.
Hopefully they don't have any more issues with hurricanes and whatnot. They've been
Yeah, council meetings.
delivered a double whammy.
Well, not really.
Right.
The council meeting's on the 8th.
No, it's the council meeting is the day before unless you.
That's right. It's Wednesday the 9th, Thursday the 10th, and Friday the 11th. So
It's the CEDC meeting.
But the 8th would be affected for travel.
now, one of the things we're discussing with CDC is whether to hold our economic development meetings every month. I'm encouraging them to consider a bi-monthly approach because we don't seem to need to meet every month.
Have we heard anything back regarding that one approach that we got at the EDC
That one approach.
with the sports?
No,
For the
that's
future agenda
yeah. Yeah. No, that's being pursued. And if
You,
there's something
you might see something on a future agenda item, just
Okay.
depending on where we get with them.
Got it, got it.
sure.
Just making sure that it's something viable. But
Yeah. Oh yeah, no.
Yep.
Because I've been doing the research on them. It looks awesome.
We'll have an executive session to talk about Flat Creek and their utility services agreement. That'll be a future agenda item. I'm sure there's several others.
so we've got coming up in 2 weeks. We've got, let's see, when is the next code rodeo? I was kind of disappointed
Yeah, the 6th through the 9th of
that
August.
should have been actually in Brianna's report. It didn't.
No, it is. It's on the list.
Is it?
I don't know if I think she has the dates on there too. I just didn't mention it.
Okay, so it's
Several cities is 6th.
August 6th.
Same
Okay.
thing.
And when did we say that we were doing the planning?
Our meetings are going to be the 29th.
No, the
That's what you want.
No,
the development.
code, UDO.
No,
Draft
Are you
policy.
talking about
Development agreement policy.
Yeah.
August 5th
no,
at the American Legion?
The PAC.
I could tell you. We were talking about doing a town hall
Yes.
to talk
That's
about.
That's August the 5th.
That is August the 5th.
From the American Legion?
Per-
Yeah.
Ever heard of that?
Yeah, I forwarded it to you.
No.
August 5th.
Okay.
My email's non-existent.
Or maybe I didn't. Maybe I started to and its internet went out.
So,
Okay.
But August 5th is the Legion is available. They sent me the contract. I need to know what we're talking about that day. You kind of laid it out for me, but I probably need it in writing because I could barely remember the conversation we had
Perfect.
last week.
Okay.
what time?
We have
That's 6 p.m.
I think we talked about 6. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think 6 is a good time.
So there'll be a public meeting to discuss what the city is doing to address development.
Right. We have both of them. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Anything else? I know we're just
The bathrooms
drawing this
are
out
waiting
so
for us
that
to
we
look outside. We're waiting to look
They're
outside.
not usable, so just go look.
Council members had one more.
I would like to make sure we get a report on Lower Lacoste Road and whether it improved or not in the first meeting in September, which gives them the full 30 days to enforce and to do recordings and stuff. But
Sure.
I want to make sure we're getting that back because got almost 800 cars a day going over 10 over.
Right.
That's,
Will you go on the pending agenda list and just put that in there, and at
Yes.
the end of it, put your name in, just put MERS in parentheses?
Yes.
Okay.
September, is that what you said? September?
If you put it on those, especially if there's something time sensitive, when you want to have it on a specific meeting, that's the easiest way to do it. Okay. Anything else? Great job, everybody. Thank you. Sorry for the short meeting. We are through the agenda and adjourned at 7:25.
Thank you.
No, I'm sorry because the next meeting is going to be much longer. There were things that we couldn't fit in this one. I'd rather have 2 medium sized than 1 short and 1 really long.
Stop this. This one.
Okay, we're gonna go out there and then we're gonna come back in here
You're on YouTube.
as we pass through the front door.
Right.
Huh?
Don't stop it.
I'm parked out.
Oh,
Can't stop.
yeah, we're
Go to the right. Where it says stop. Red button.
Yeah.
Yeah.